Hey everyone, it's Joe Glines here in Dallas.
And Jackie here from Denmark.
Today in our short talk on AutoHotkey, we were going to talk about using a SetTimer. And for those of you, so let's start off on like what in the world a SetTimer is. And Jackie, you're much better a programmer than I. But simply put, for me, because one of the big reasons why I use it is AutoHotkey is not multi-threading, and a SetTimer can sort of get around it to help you get around it so things can still happen and they don't have to be linear. Does that make sense? How do you think about it, Jackie?
It's probably a good way, as good as any other way of explaining it. But if you've not used a SetTimer, or if you're totally new to AutoHotkey, you might have used like a go-to or a go sub or a hotkey label, or if you're into GUIs, you might have used a G label for what you want your button to have. So what it's actually doing is it's jumping to a specific place that you have specified in your script file. And it's actually the exact same thing with SetTimer. You set a timer, and then it will repeatedly go to that piece of code that you have asked it to on whatever interval that you set the timer. And the thing with it is that you can, of course, set multiple timers. Mm-hmm. And as the way that AutoHotkey is with the single thread, the timer will trigger, it will move to the code, it will start doing the code, and if another timer starts, it might be allowed to interrupt the process. It depends on which command and stuff that it's currently doing. This timer will then interrupt the other timer's routine, and then they will start figuring out, okay, I'll do this sleep, then I can manage to do these 4 lines over here, and then it's this one's turn again, and then it will do the send command, and when it's done and you sleep, okay, and then this one will get, so, and you're not getting through multi-threading, but it will maybe seem like multiple things are going on at the same time.
It sounds like it's the same way as humans. We don't multitask, right? We just can switch quickly between things and feel like we're multitasking, but really we're not.
Yeah. And of course, you have some other settings and options in your script that can maybe manage this a little better, mm-hmm. But it's still, it's a great tool. And
it's very easy to add to use, right?
Yeah.
One of which, I don't remember the setting, but I was talking to Maestros one day, and he added I think it was a parameter in the call, or if it was maybe he set it to 0, and it tells it to call it just one time. It'll only run it once. Is that right?
Yeah, a negative number.
Okay.
Or so like, let's say you set it to negative 1,000. That would be 1,000 milliseconds. Uh-huh. So in 1,000 milliseconds, it will jump to that label once. Where if you keep it positive, it will keep doing it over and over again every second, for that matter. Mm-hmm. So again, you could set it for, I can't remember what the max setting on time is, but it's something like, it's a lot of days, maybe even close to a month on that timer, because you can go into the millions of or trillions or whatever, but at least you can set a very high number. Mm-hmm. And on the documentation page, you can see the max value you can set it to. But for the most part, you would probably use it for, let's say you wanted to often check for the creation of a window, or if you wanted to periodically check for an incoming email. Or so instead of building something very complex with having it listen for messages or waiting for a trigger event and stuff, you might just use a timer and have whatever check that you already built into whatever you have, and then just have it do it periodically. So, yeah.
Yeah, and back to the whole reasoning is, if with AutoHotkey you're going through a given thread, and you can't necessarily be doing something else elsewhere if that's all you're doing, and so that's when often I'll use a set timer. But the alternative would be is to have a separate script running and watching for it. And so what's nice is the set timer is actually in your original script, so it keeps it all together.
Yeah, it can also be used to kind of a way of delaying action. So if you're going through whatever types of stuff and you get to a point where now you know you need to do this, but in a little while, and you want the script to continue doing whatever it's doing over here, but in a second or in 5 minutes or whatever, you need it to jump over and just get this one piece over here done, still wanting the flow to stay over here. That's a good way to use a set timer, right? So you can set it in a different place in the script, or you can have it in the global space and still keep stuff going on within your normal script. So it could change values that you'd use for some other actions and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I found it to be quite powerful. After now we're talking about labels, but you could also use it to jump to hotkey definitions. You could use it to jump to functions. That's also been added. And of course, you can make it even more in depth and maybe even bind specific parameters to functions and stuff like that. So it can also become quite advanced to actually use these timers.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think we'll keep it nice and short today. That was a good overview. I'd say definitely play with it, right? And just to be aware of that there is a way to allow you to periodically go and feel like you're having multi-threaded stuff even when you're not.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good addition if what you have doesn't really need to be exclusive. This needs to happen but if you want to have multiple things going on within the same time frame.
Yeah. All right, man.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.